Hi, this is Dr. Carolyn Coker Ross, bringing you the Inclusive Minds podcast. This podcast was inspired by the book of which I'm a co-editor entitled Anti-Blackness and the Stories of Authentic Allies, Lived Experiences in the Fight Against Institutionalized Racism. If you're a psychologist, a social worker, an addiction professional, or a healthcare provider, or anyone who wants to broaden your horizons, then this podcast is for you. The goal of the podcast is to help you understand some of the more complex issues facing our culture today. My guests are experts in their fields, and we'll be talking about a wide array of topics, including cross-cultural issues, the intersection of race and trauma, social justice, and health inequities. They will be sharing both their lived experiences and their expert opinions. The goal is to give you a felt experience and to let you know that you're not alone in being confused by these complex issues. We want to provide nuanced information with context that will enable you to make your own decisions about these important topics. Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Carolyn Coker Ross, and welcome to Inclusive Minds podcast. Today, I have a very special guest who's actually a long-term friend of mine from my Denver era, I'll call it. Her name is Christina Veselak, and Christina is the founder and director of the Academy for Addiction and Mental Health Nutrition. She's a licensed psychotherapist for over 30 years. She provides online relapse prevention coaching and mental health nutrition support, consulting with supplement companies, IV detox programs, and residential treatment centers to integrate nutritional approaches to recovery. She's also the founder and CEO of Eating Protein Saves Lives. That's a good title. And she's the best-selling author of Eat, a guide to radiant recovery using food and amino acids to repair the addicted brain and reduce cravings. She's a seasoned national speaker and founding member of the Alliance for Addiction Solutions, and she continues to advance evidence-based nutritional and biochemical strategies for brain and mental health. And her quote is, "I'm dedicated to saving and transforming lives through amino acid and nutrient therapy." Welcome to the show, my bud, Christina. It's great.
Thank you, Carolyn. Thank you so much for having me. And it's lovely seeing you again after all these years.
Yeah, we worked together in Denver, and I think you were the first one who introduced me to the concept of using amino acids intravenously for detox. Mm-hmm. And we've talked a lot about that. Just to start, I'd love to know a little bit about your quote unquote origin story. Mm-hmm. So how did you get started in using nutrition therapies in addiction treatment?
Well, I've been a therapist for about 10 years, working in and around the addiction field. And I got introduced to the concept of using amino acids for addiction. And this fascinated me because I'd always been interested in nutrition and that there were actually substances that you could get over the counter that would turn off cravings within 20 minutes was mind-blowing.
Yeah.
And so I started meeting with the head of one of the amino acid distribution companies in the country and met with him every Friday for lunch and got myself well trained, and then met with other nutritional treatment providers around the country and kept getting trained, became a certified nutritionist in 1993. Mm-hmm. And then I started studying functional nutrition with Dr. Jeffrey Bland before the term was even coined.
Yeah.
And, you know, Carolyn, as I tell people, when I sat in on his seminars, because he was teaching high-level nutrition, at first, 75% of it was going over my head.
It's mostly biochemistry that he talks about, really.
It's all biochemistry. And I had never taken a biochemistry class in my entire life.
Yeah.
But I just hung in there. I hung in there. And then 50% went over my head. And then 25%. And now I'm teaching it. Now, I'm not teaching it at that level. Right. I'm teaching it at this level, where it's for the therapist level.
Yeah, it's more accessible to all of us instead of just Dr. Bland. So he's an amazing guy, I agree.
Yeah,
So
he is.
I wanted to find out a little bit about your book, Eat: A Guide
Mhm.
to Radiant Recovery. Do you have a copy there to show us the picture?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, and
So
when did your book come out?
this got published in April of this year.
Wonderful, and tell me a little bit about it.
Well, it's actually, as you see from the picture cover, it's pretty, right?
Very
And
pretty.
so it has, we have
Uh-huh.
pictures all the way through to
Lovely.
make it accessible to
Yeah.
the person in early recovery, to recovery high schools,
So
to the ordinary
this is all
person.
about nutrition for recovery from substance use disorders.
It really is. And it comes out of the time where you and I actually met, when I lived in Denver and I had a practice for 20 years in Denver, specializing in the person with chronic relapse.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I had all my colleagues in Denver, I asked, send me your treatment failures.
Mhm.
Send me the person who's going to 3 meetings a day, has gone to 5 treatment programs, is dedicated and committed, and still can't make it.
Yeah, and what did you learn from seeing that's a wonderful way to learn because I always say I've learned more from my patients than I ever did in medical school.
Well, I learned a tremendous amount. And this book is actually the ultimate result of what I learned, which is that everybody had their own story, everybody had their own struggles, right? Everybody had their own things they were tripping over. But what everyone had in common was that they were not eating regularly
Mhm.
or the nutrients they needed to support their brains.
Yeah.
So it turns out that we need, and this research has been here for decades, Carolyn. We know exactly what nutrients the brain needs to repair itself, to feed itself, to function optimally, so that we can function optimally. But
Mhm.
that's never, ever been part of the mental health or addiction treatment conversation.
And witnessed the food that they offer at AA meetings, you
Well,
know,
you see, it's
sugary
awful.
donuts and caffeine-filled coffee.
But that's because people switch addiction to sugar in early recovery because they have a starving brain, because their neurotransmitters are still depleted.
Yeah, what do you mean when you say a starving brain?
So, as I said, our brain needs specific nutrients to function. Well, we have to get those nutrients from food.
Mhm.
Now, maybe we can throw in a multivitamin here and there, but right, the foundation is food. If we are not eating nutrient dense food every day or consistently, our brain ends up starving. Our brain ends up not getting the nutrients it needs to function. And if it's not functioning, guess what? We're not functioning.
So, for example, some of the symptoms that you would know that your brain is starving would be things like food cravings.
Would be food cravings for any substance for relief.
What are
So
some of the other signs that would be
anxiety,
anxiety?
panic attacks,
Yeah.
depression, fatigue,
Mhm.
right? Feeling spacey or dizzy, feeling revved up, irritable, reactive,
Mhm.
like you can't focus or concentrate.
But how
So
can you know that's from the brain versus, what we normally conceptualize as the reasons why people might have, depression or anxiety or panic attacks?
by specifically looking at what you're eating.
Okay. Questioning whether you should be treated with medication for depression, anxiety, etc. The first question should be, what am I eating?
Exactly. And there's two parts to that question. And by the way, I have found in my 10 years with my school, the academy, and all of our students, is that the people who are on the most psychiatric drugs
Mm.
are eating the worst.
Okay.
And by eating the worst, I mean living on very low nutrient density, ultra processed foods,
Mm.
skipping meals,
Mhm.
grabbing something on the go that doesn't have any nutrient value, filling your tummy,
Yeah.
but not choosing your food mindfully.
Is that
And
because I know many of the as you know, many of the drugs that are given for mental health issues can cause weight gain. Are they not eating because of that, or are they not eating just because they're not educated about it?
They're not eating because nobody has told them that what and when they eat matters to their mental health.
Yeah.
So when we get those people, say on 5, 6, 7 psych meds, when we get them eating 20 grams of protein every 4 hours, along with other real food,
Mhm.
I have something that I call my 5-star pro recovery diet. We can talk
Okay.
about that.
Yes,
It's not
please.
really a diet, it's a food philosophy, so I'll get that in a minute. But when we get people eating, the people on 5, 6 psych meds, the people who are using every street drug they can find because they are in such distress,
Yeah.
right? When we get them eating according to this food philosophy, the cravings go away, people feel grounded,
Mhm.
people can start thinking, they can start problem solving. They can engage in a recovery process. Their brain is now functioning. And so symptoms like depression and anxiety start getting better. Symptoms like insomnia start getting better. And then people have a much easier time weaning off or cold turkeying off, if that's the case, whatever substance they're using, whether it be a psych med or THC or alcohol or sugar, to, they can start weaning off these things because the brain is now, see, it's our brain's job to allow us to cope with stress gracefully,
Right.
gracefully, to
It's a
flow, to
Is that
access.
possible in this day and age, Christina, to cope gracefully? Come on.
Well, for that, we need a well fed brain.
Well, for everything, we need a well-fed brain, that's for sure, yeah.
Exactly. And the more our stress, the more conscious we need to be of feeding ourselves what we need to function. Problem is, most of us, me included, when I get under stress, I eat worse.
Yeah, I think that's true for a lot of people, for sure.
Right. And so it's a downward spiral.
Yeah. So tell us about your five-point philosophy.
5-star pro recovery diet.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
So the first 3 stars, protein, approximately 20 grams of protein every 4 hours minimum. Some
Okay.
people can get away with less, most people need more. But I found that that amount is what works for most people to stop cravings and to
Mhm.
just start feeling better. So 20 grams of protein, any type of protein, doesn't matter. It's good to mix and match every 4 hours. Star number 2 is healthy fats.
Okay.
We have to have fats in our diet. Studies have shown that people with the lowest level of cholesterol, and cholesterol, the more total cholesterol, the more it goes under 170, the more susceptible people are of dying from suicide.
Yeah, I've read those
I
statistics.
don't know that.
Mm,
Same thing with the omega-3 fatty acids. There was a study in 2011 of deceased soldiers who had killed themselves. And it was found that compared to a control group of soldiers who had died from other means, other causes, the men who, and women, I think, who had died of suicide had the lowest level of omega 3 fatty acids in their blood.
and I think those studies have been ongoing in the military, 'cause it has such a high suicide rate, yeah.
It does. Although they're not acting on it, but they certainly have the research.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, it should be, "Here's your packet of vitamins every day," but we can't really do.
exactly. I mean, Dr. Lewis years ago found that if you had two soldiers going into combat, or two football players for that matter, right? One has been taking fish oil every day and the other hasn't. They end up in an explosion or in a collision, and the one without the fish oil gets the concussion. The one on the fish oil does not get the concussion.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
Okay, so healthy fats
okay.
and avoiding the unhealthy fats, the
So,
deep fried.
healthy fats would be the kind of fat you see in avocados and then olive oil. that in the
And
oven.
your cold water fish, your
Yeah,
egg yolks, walnuts, even some butter and some coconut oil is good for you.
okay. All right. So healthy
Okay.
fats, that's number 2.
Yep. But we want to avoid the deep fried things and your chips and all of that. I mean, for treats, sure, but not
Okay.
as a daily
Oh,
thing.
thank you, thank you. A little chip treat.
Can have little treats here and there. Okay. Star number 3 is your complex carbohydrates.
Okay.
So your fruits and your vegetables and your whole grains. So mostly vegetables, all the colors to provide all those wonderful phytonutrients and antioxidants, but they also provide the fiber for our gut, and a healthy gut is a healthy brain.
Mhm.
And
And
so
so that
we
fiber is prebiotics for the gut microbiome, right?
sure is, sure is. So by the way, is butter, butyrate. It's a little bit better.
That's a
Okay.
good thing. That
It
butter
is
has
such a good thing.
some, health benefits.
It's
Okay.
good to know. Okay, so your complex carbohydrates. And then star number 4 is to personalize it because we have different energy expenditures. The little petite woman who's sitting in front of a computer all day has less energy expenditure than your big, burly, person doing construction.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Okay, so you
Oh, I see.
personalize it. Some people have food intolerances or food allergies.
Mhm.
People have different cultural likes and dislikes,
Okay.
your favorite ethnic foods. So we want to personalize it to the individual.
Mhm. Yeah.
And then the 5th star is clean, as clean as possible.
Mhm.
And yes, not all of us, me, can afford to go 100%,
Well, what
field
do you
fed.
mean when you say clean? Because that's
I'm
a
getting
big
there.
fad right now is clean
I'm
eating.
I'm getting there. And
Mm,
not all of us can afford to do it 100%. But the reality is that toxins are everywhere.
mhm,
And toxins are in our food coloring and in the preservatives
mm,
and in the texturizers. And vitamins have food coloring and wax. Right. Well, I certainly do not need a neon pink vitamin. Okay. I just don't. But the thing is, our liver is the one that has to detoxify all of these chemicals. And our liver is wonderful. Our liver does so many things for us. And it works really hard to detoxify everything we breathe and we wear and we get in our food.
and
But
we
it
put in
can
our
get
faces for cosmetics and in our hair and all of that, so
exactly.
the liver's
And
a
our air
big
fresheners.
yeah, yeah, all of that.
Right. So every single one of those chemicals has to be detoxified by the liver and then excreted.
Okay.
Well, there's so many more chemicals that our body has to detoxify and get rid of today than there was even 10 years ago or 50 years ago. And
Well,
so our liver gets behind, it builds up. And having toxins impairs our energy, our well being, and our mental health.
so, the diet you're describing sounds like it could be very similar to the Mediterranean diet or the anti-inflammatory diet. So it's not something that's revolutionary or extreme, which I think
No,
is
but what I'm trying to do is break it down to its basic components of what are the nutrients the brain needs
mhm.
to thrive, not
Okay,
just get by, but
okay.
thrive. And so, I know for me, I look at all the different diets out there and it's like, oh my God, we've
Mm,
got vegan, we've got carnivore, we've got everything in between. How do I think through this?
mhm.
Well, this is how I designed the 5-star pro recovery diet as a way of clearing the screen
Yeah,
and thinking through what is it that my brain and my body requires to function optimally.
okay. So is there a different requirement for those who are in recovery from substance use disorders? Is protein kind of the requirements for protein different in that population than, say, in a housewife who I know the amounts and so on, but just the
The
focus on
amounts the
protein.
amounts are different. If you're in early recovery, chances are you've not eaten real food for a really long time.
Yeah, that's true.
So your tissues are really depleted, your brain is really depleted. This is where I say the starving brain.
Yeah.
And so this is where it's important to, I believe in beginning with food and ending with food, but in the middle, we need purified food, especially if we're trying to jumpstart a very deprived nutrient system in our bodies and brains.
So
So that
purified meaning
meaning a multivitamin, for
okay.
instance, a good quality multivitamin with no food coloring in it, a fish oil, and then amino acids, because we can buy amino acids over the counter. They are purified. So when we eat protein, it breaks down into these little tiny molecules called amino acids. They go everywhere, all over our body. They make our muscle, they make our skin, they make our enzymes, they make our DNA.
And they make our nervous system work. Yeah.
And some of them get into our brain and make our neurotransmitters. We can buy those over the counter. We know exactly what they are. We know exactly the symptoms of neurotransmitter depletion. We can assess people for those, and then we can give them the amount of amino acid they need to within 20 minutes. Here's the game changing thing, Carolyn. Amino acids work within 20 minutes.
Yeah.
They get into the brain and make new neurotransmitter within 20 minutes, can turn off a craving,
Mhm.
can improve a mood, can turn off a panic attack, can give you energy, can relax you into sleep, all within 20 minutes. And they're anti addictive.
So they don't have any addictive qualities and they're freely available. Give us an example maybe of someone you've worked with in recovery where one particular amino acid really helped or was a game changer.
I will, but the stories that's coming to mind immediately is the granddaughter of a friend of mine,
Okay.
because this just happened this week.
Okay.
And the granddaughter has had enormous trauma and is now living with grandma, social services and the whole bed. And she's been suicidal and she's on meds and, one of those stories. Well, earlier last week, she was too depressed to go to school and
Mhm.
just wasn't getting out of bed. And so her grandma called me and said, "Can you do anything?"
Mhm.
So I had her come over and I gave her some of the amino acid L-tyrosine,
Yes. Mhm.
and I gave her a handful of fish oil capsules.
Mm.
And I said, trial her on the tyrosine until you find the amount where she brightens up. So she went home. This was about 2:30, 3 o'clock. She gives her granddaughter, ends up 3 capsules of tyrosine. Now, the granddaughter, who's all of 16, says, "I don't feel better."
Yeah.
But she gets out of bed, she makes her bed, she does her laundry,
Mm.
she does her chores, she packs her bag for school the next day.
So she's brightened up at least quite a
She
bit.
she's completely turned around,
Yeah.
okay? From getting out of bed, being too depressed to do anything, to up and functioning and doing laundry and cleaning her room.
Okay.
And
So why L-tyrosine?
because the symptoms of low dopamine depression are flat, apathetic depression, don't care about anything, can't be bothered, and can't move. And that's what she was describing. So now, fish oil, this is also the same symptoms of low omega 3 fatty acid status. So I'm
Okay.
also asking her to do 3 grams of the omega 3s every day. And I said it kicks in about 3 days. Well, the next day she gets up early, gets herself to school, comes home. Now, grandma and grandpa have a medical emergency. So they
Oh,
basically spend the next 12 hours in the hospital. This 16-year-old who 2 days earlier couldn't get out of bed took her second dose, took the dose of aminos when she got up, took the dose when she got home from school, did all the farm chores, fed her great-grandmother, did the dishes, and did the same thing the next morning.
That's awesome. So that shows how quickly, as you say, it works. It's pretty
When you
amazing.
have the right dose and that's what you need.
Mm,
Exactly. So I wanted to share that with you and everybody listening because that's a little miracle story.
yeah, for sure. What is really the role of protein? Is it to provide amino acids for the brain, or are there other benefits of having a focus on protein?
There's other benefits as well, and that is if especially if you're eating it every 4 hours, it maintains blood sugar control. So we want our blood sugar doing a very gentle wave during the day. We don't want it doing this,
Yes, right.
okay? Or we don't want it just doing this if you're skipping meals. With
Mhm.
all my chronic relapsers, they never ate. They
Yeah,
just couldn't be bothered to eat their language, not my language.
yeah, and that's pretty common in the people I worked with eating disorders, especially those with binge eating disorder, because they were worried about their weight. They'd often skip meals during the day and then
Mhm.
binge at night, which can't give you steady blood sugar. Now, a lot of people are using these continuous glucose monitors,
Mhm.
and
I think that's really useful.
mhm. Do you think people understand what they're supposed to do with that information?
Well, we hope that somebody is teaching them what to do with that information. But what we found, again, this is why we're saying eat that protein every 4 hours, eat the real food every 4 hours. Now, some people can get it if you've got really good adrenals, if you're really doing well in life, you can go for longer. Okay,
Mm,
I can now go generally for 6 hours and be just fine. 30
mm,
years ago, I couldn't go for more than 3 hours.
mm.
My blood sugar was very unstable. And women who are premenstrual tend to have more unstable blood sugar.
Mhm.
So then you want to be eating that protein every 3 hours to
Okay.
keep blood sugar absolutely stable. Because, Carolyn, once blood sugar drops, okay, and just then keeps dropping really low, adrenaline kicks in.
Yeah, and that you
And
don't want.
we don't want that for a couple of reasons. First of all, adrenaline will set off a craving all on its own
Mm.
because adrenaline destabilizes us.
So just as a reminder to people, adrenaline is the hormone, the stress hormone that's usually released when we're under stress, and that can then trigger
Yeah.
cortisol, which is associated with depression and weight gain and other
Mhm.
problems, right?
It sure does. And anxiety and panic attacks. I
Mhm.
had a woman come to me years ago now. She came in, sat down, looked at me, and said, "You're number 8." I said, "Eight? Eight what?" Right. A little though intimidating here. She said, "Well, I have had twice daily panic attacks. Twice daily panic attacks for 10 years. Been to 4 psychiatrists, put on meds. They made me feel crazy. Didn't work. 3 therapists who were really helpful in helping me cope with the panic attacks, but didn't make them go away. So
Mhm.
you're number 8."
So I'm assuming you solved the problem, the
It
mystery.
solved the problem. She had a panic attack upon arising due to low blood sugar,
Mm,
and at 4 o'clock in the afternoon due to low blood sugar because she skipped lunch every day.
I see, yeah.
She had breakfast, and her morning panic attack went away when she ate breakfast, and her afternoon panic attack went away when she ate dinner.
Mhm.
So I explained the whole thing to her, told her what to do, how to manage her blood sugar, and we set an appointment for the following week. She calls me midweek, cancels the appointment, says, "Thank you so much. I have not had one panic attack for the first time in 10 years since I walked out of your office."
That's
Now,
amazing.
the other thing I did, Carolyn, is I fed her because
Mhm.
it was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon that she came in.
Oh, perfect.
And so I fed her so that she wouldn't have her afternoon panic attack.
So
And she didn't.
that was a good clue for her. That was proof
It
of
was
what you
proof.
were saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay. Is there anything else that you recommend in terms of supplements for people in recovery?
So it really depends on how much you're struggling. and what substances you're craving.
Mhm.
So different substances are a reflection of depletion in different of these four neurotransmitter systems, right?
Okay,
We've
let's
got
talk about the common one, sugar cravings or salt cravings.
so salt is very often due to adrenal fatigue,
Mhm.
and you really need to be supporting your adrenals with rest, with restoration, with balance in your life, but also with vitamin C and vitamin B5 and some salt. Our adrenals actually need salt, but let's use the good, pink Himalayan sea salt
Mhm.
rather than, a bag of Lay's potato chips. Sugar fires whatever neurotransmitter is depleted. So, for instance, I'm not a stress eater. Okay. I don't crave sugar if I'm stressed or if I'm upset. I crave sugar if I'm tired.
Yeah, that's me
Where's the
too.
chocolate? Where's the chocolate?
Yeah.
Okay. And, I can go for my tyrosine, but chocolate tastes so much better. But the tyrosine, you see, takes away the craving for chocolate when I'm tired. Now, we can crave sugar when we're sad, when we've had a breakup, when
Mhm.
we're lonely, especially sugar with some fat in it, like ice cream. And that's a sign of low endorphins. So we can take the amino acid diphenylalanine or DLPA, and we get a little energy boost and we get a little relief. We get comfort. It takes the edge off the emotional pain.
Yeah.
Okay. Or we can crave sugar because we are worried. We're
Mhm.
anxious. We can't let go. It's like, is everything going to be okay? What's going to happen tomorrow? Oh my goodness. Right. And that's low serotonin. And so we'll crave sugar, especially we'll crave sugar if serotonin is low for some biochemical reasons that we don't have to go into. But a lot of people find that their sugar cravings go away, especially the late afternoon and evening sugar cravings. So here's some of your bingers when they raise serotonin using 5-HTP or tryptophan,
Okay.
like half an hour before your typical binge time.
Mhm.
And do try to eat breakfast, it really does help, and lunch. But half an hour before your typical binge time, you can take the 5-HTP and it will so take the edge off that craving.
That's amazing. It's amazing work that you do. Do you find that, I mean, you've solved some amazing cases. Do you find that other providers are open to, especially in your field as a psychotherapist, are people sending you cases that they are not able to solve, or are doctors more open to it than, 10 years ago?
Everybody's more open than they used to be.
That's good.
It's still an upward battle,
Yeah.
but people are desperate. The old ways of doing things aren't working. The structure is beginning to fall apart. People want real answers. And this is a real answer with no hype around it. It's just, it makes sense. It's clinically based. We have lots of science behind it. It works within 20 minutes. You can try it for yourself. I tell my clients, don't believe me. You have a craving and it's been more than 3 hours since you've eaten. Get
Mhm.
yourself a hamburger. See what happens to your craving.
Yeah. So
Hey, this includes a craving for anything, Carolyn.
yeah, exactly. Wonderful. Well, it's been great both to see you again and also to hear about what you're doing and about your new book. Let me just ask you the question I ask everybody on the show, which is, what gives you hope these days?
I two answers.
Okay.
The big answer is that as human beings, Carolyn, we don't give up.
Hmm.
We don't give up. We continue to fight for what's right, for what's good, for what's hopeful,
Hmm.
right?
Okay. So the resilience of humankind, then.
The resilience and the love that most of us, maybe not all of us, okay,
Mhm.
but most of us have,
Right.
right? And that gets us through and that will continue to get us through. I mean, look, we're still here as a race after everything human beings have gone through over the last millennia. We're
Right.
still here. We're gonna keep overcoming and thriving and surviving. The other thing that gives me hope is the tools I offer people work.
Mhm.
they work. Amino acid and nutrient therapy works robustly with 80% of the time. This approach we've been talking about works.
And that's a lot higher than in prescription drugs, which work 50% of the time.
Exactly, right? Let's just flip a coin. So this works 80% of the time, and the 20 when it doesn't work, it's because something else is going on that we can locate and address.
Yeah. Well, I admire your work and I really support everything you're doing and hope you're well yourself and that you continue along this vein.
It's lovely being with you and with everybody who's listening. Thank you.
Thanks for listening. Please subscribe to the Inclusive Minds podcast so we can let you know when the next great guest comes on. The link to subscribe is in the caption below.